This is Joe Pugh for IFLTV. Delighted to be joined over Zoom for the first time by Franciska Szabo, aka Sheena Bathory. Francesca,
Hello,
how
hello.
are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you. I just hopped in after training, so
Yeah, look, doing some research on you before this interview. Shout out Dan Miller, who kind of linked this up. Wild, wild story. Judo champion to power slapping, soon to become MMA, want to become boxer. Yeah, look, I believe your father was a judo Olympian, so that's where it all started, right?
exactly. Yeah, I started with judo. I would say I like to try out different type of martial arts sport. I like to see my ability, you know. But I think MMA is going to be my favorite because there is always something to work on. There is always something new to learn because it's there involved so many sports, so it keeps up my interest for a really long time now.
How do you go from judo to power slapping? Power slapping is probably one of the most fastest growing sports out there right now. Certainly when Dana White got involved, really brought it to the masses. I know you've gone viral with your knockout. It's becoming a really big sport, but how do you get from judo to standing there taking slaps and slapping people?
So after I retired from judo. I started doing some bodybuilding, but it was kind of boring for me, and I wanted to learn some pro wrestling. And pro wrestling is really huge in United States, so I made my move, like 4 years ago to the States, and my expectation was to get into something big leagues. I still had great events, but then Power Slap just reached out to me like, hey, we would like to get you in the exhibition competition. And I was like, slapping, like, wow, that's really wide. And I remember myself when I was the age like 16 or 17, there were already some videos available on YouTube. Like people were, I don't know, some Russian people were slapping each other. And I like to actually watching it. And I was like, that's really wise. So I was like, probably I would be the first, female to involving this huge event. And it was challenging because we didn't know how to prepare for this. It was completely new. But I know that I can hit hard. So I was like, that's something new, that's something interesting, and I definitely want to get in. So it was no question to accept their invitation for the competition.
Yeah, look, for anyone who doesn't know, there isn't just you stand there and start slapping people. There is rules to this. You're not allowed to kind of
Yeah.
club. It's got to be in the right place in the face, the palm of the hand. You're not allowed to move your feet. So there is kind of some technical aspect of it. It's not just pure violence, kind
Exactly.
of slap
So
people.
actually, that you cannot really lift your heels, your feet. I think it's really limiting your power. There is a machine I practicing sometimes on it, like how can I bring the best, the strongest impact, and with lifting the feet is almost double, the number. So yeah, but it's also I think for our safety to limiting it, but yeah, there are so many rules. You have to really pay attention, especially you're very excited, you have high adrenaline to keep all these rules in mind. I think it's not as simple as it seems like in the TV.
At what point did you realize that you were actually good at it? Was it your first match, or was it when you was training? Where did you think, okay, this can actually be my thing, my new thing?
Yeah, yeah, well, it was in the exhibition competition. Honestly, I'm really glad because it was against Kearney Olson, the first competition. She was my friend, so I was really praying that I don't want to be the first who's going to hit her because it's really hard to hit a friend, in purpose. But I know if once I'm getting triggered, even in the training, if somebody like very disrespectful with me, I always learn, like my dad taught me on the way, like I have to give it back, you know? And because this pain or this slap kind of triggered me, after that, I didn't really see her as my friend. I saw her as my opponent, and I have to give this back. So it came out that I can take the slap, and since I get triggered, I can really hit hard, you know?
Yeah,
So
look, you've gone viral, over 140 million views. Did you realize it would be to that scale? Was it a little bit of an overnight sensation getting so much attention from that one slap?
I think because it's connected with the UFC, I was sure that it's going to get so much attention. But yeah, look, I think it's very intense. First of all, it's short, you know, so people don't really get bored till the action is coming. So it's like very, very, very quick, and you know, as I can say, and so many knockouts, so many knockouts, which you have to wait so many minutes in the MMA fight till possibly going to be something. So I think for people, it's really they're getting so much stimulus by these short knockouts. You know what we're it's very intense, and I think people like it. People love violence. You know, so obviously shows the number that it gained a really huge viewers and audience.
I've seen on some sites you've been labelled as the Ronda Rousey of Power Slap. She was the real pioneer for the UFC. So do you believe you can carry that forward? And we've seen what Ronda's gone on to do. You mentioned pro wrestling. She's done that. She's been in films. She has become a global superstar. Is that your intention to just grow your name?
Exactly, yes. I really admiring her because she was in many, many sports, you know. Um yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love Ronda. She was an amazing judo fighter too, you know. I like the way she was fighting in MMA too. So yeah, she wherever she was going, she was amazing. She's a very talented, amazing fighter. So yeah.
I've got to ask you about Dana White. He obviously owns a Power Slap. He's brought it to that Western audience. I know it's big in kind of Eastern Europe with Russia before, but he's really brought it to the States and certainly over to the UK. What is it like working and dealing with Dana White?
Okay, so first when I was in the Apex, in the UFC Apex, I was like, wow, like I grew up in a very small town. Like, it was actually a village, and to get in Las Vegas to the UFC to for the exhibition competition in the UFC Apex, and I'm like, holy shit, like Dana is right in front of me, and he's going to watch me, and I'm like. It was like really unbelievable, and but it also gave me like so much motivation, like the chance is here, I have to take it. It's not like an everyday thing. I want to prove myself, and yeah, I feel so much privileged that I get the chance to meet and working with them.
I understand that you've been training for an MMA contest for a long time. So why now? Why November 30th, just days away?
Yeah, so actually I started training for MMA almost 2 years ago, and it was really hard, the transformation from bodybuilding back to MMA. Even though I have a judo background, the techniques was still there. I did some wrestling too, but my body was really extremely stiff. I get really tired so fast. So I was like, okay, even though I wanted to build muscles, now trying to time to burn those muscles. Yeah, and then I think this took so much time till I was able to more leaning down, being again explosive, flexible. It takes so much time for my body. It was minimum 1 year till my body adapted. The other thing, my kickboxing and boxing was zero. So I wanted to take my time that at least I'm going to have a really good defense. And now honestly I feel really confident even with striking, with the footwork is getting better. Of course it's never going to be perfect, but I'm 33, so I think it's time to earn some competition routine, because it's totally different, the competition, than the training. So since I had many many situation and fight, I say that I'm ready. Even my coach said that I am ready. So yeah, that's why it's November 30.
You mentioned boxing there. I've been reliably informed that you do want to get on a Misfits card sometime in 2025. Why Misfits? It feels like you're just ticking off all the boxes, and then it'll be the natural progression for a little bit of boxing.
Um, so the story behind is that when I started to MMA, my boxing was terrible. I was terrible. I was so crippled in it. And then in Miami, I started working together with a Cuban coach. His name is Jorge Rubio. He's really good. And
Yeah.
then after 2 months, he was able to change a lot in my move. So I started get a good sense, and I started loving boxing now. I really fall in love with boxing, and I realized that how can I have like really very powerful punch. Also, I'm a really huge fan of Mike Tyson. And then Misfits is one of my favorite league of boxing. I like the ladies there. They are also great characters, not only just the fighters, because some league you see the fight, it's just a fight, it's great, but Misfit is involving also characters. You can see more from them, and I think that's what I have really desired to get in, because I will say that's gonna suit me most.
Feel like your character would flourish on the Misfit stage, the press conferences. They can get wild at sometimes. They can get quite feisty. Is that a
Yeah,
bit of you?
yeah, yeah, because I did also pro wrestling, and I love to acting too. I mean, it's also part of my personality, but I want to bring also show there, not only just sport, which is limited with the rules. People more curious about you, what is outside of the ring, what's going on. So I get the chance to show more of myself.
Who would be the dream opponent on a Misfits card?
Poker, I really like
Julie
her.
Pocker, the champion,
Yes.
straight in at the deep
Yes,
end,
of
right?
course. Of course. I want to get the biggest challenge.
Yeah, she's kind of taken this scene by storm. Brazilian. Yeah, I don't think she's lost yet. She beat Elle Brooke, who's a massive name over here. Elle Brooke's come down in weight. She's champion of that division. Then Julie's champion of her own division. So could be some massive
Yeah.
fights for you
But I
coming up.
also like Lee. Like, her improvement is also crazy, insane. So I'm also a big fan of her too. But I think she would be too small for me.
And
Yeah.
she fought Paige Van Zandt, who's now gone on to do the power slapping. So it's a small
Actually,
circle,
after
isn't
that
it?
fight, I became
Mm.
her fan. I'm like, holy shit, this girl is no kidding. Like, I can tell she's taking serious the training. I really can tell she's preparing and training hard for these events. So those girls who's really training hard for that, I have so much respect for them. No matter when they started doing boxing, what they have done before, they are there and they took it really very serious. And Misfits, that's why it's becoming really very very popular, because the girls are really how to say, impressing people. So